Stacy Berg Jackson is a former high school teacher. God love her. She's also a successful consultant coach to executives, and she's crushing it. I love talking to people like Stacy. Her passion is palpable. You're going to see it in this interview where I sit down with her and we talk about her business, how she got started, how she's different from every other coach out there. You're not going to want to miss this. It's awesome. Thanks for jumping on Giant TV. Let's go jump in. Hi, everybody. This is Paul Hitchcock, founder and president of Giant Jacks Media. Thank you for jumping on Giant TV. Really excited to have Stacy Berg Jackson with me today. Hello, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Excellent. Yes, I can.
Awesome.
That's the first hurdle we got over. We can hear each other.
That's right.
Yeah, but this is going to be a great discussion. In my field, I have a chance to talk with quite a few entrepreneurs and people doing great things. You're no exception. And my audience loves to hear from people like you, Stacy, who are running a business. We want to hear how you got into it, what you're doing, kind of where you're going. Anything you want to talk about is fair game. So let's jump in. Just a little bit about your background.
Okay. So my background is actually, I was a high school teacher, if you want to go back in the day.
Brutal.
So yes, I know. My master's is in instruction and curriculum. So I was a high school teacher here in Florida for a number of years and decided that although that was a lot of fun, I actually enjoyed working with adults as well. So I got into human resources, I got into training and facilitation, and I was in that space for a long time. And I got into talent development and leadership development and became an executive coach. And so now that's really primarily where I focus. I focus on leadership development, executive coaching. I do a lot still of training and facilitation and working with organizations to up-level their leadership.
Well, Stacy, when you got into coaching, was it just you kind of jumping in, both feet in and starting out, or did you get connected to an outfit that had a structure? Like, how did you do it?
Well, I was super fortunate to be with an organization, and I'll give them a quick shout out, Saks Fifth Avenue. I was the human resource director for one of their stores, and I was tapped to attend some of these leadership workshops to become a certified trainer. So they sent us to New York. We became certified Korn Ferry 360 evaluation trainers, Hogan development survey trainers. And so I did some of that. So I got my whistle sort of wet through that development program for myself. And so I've kind of capitalized on that as well. Yeah. So thank you, Saks Fifth Avenue.
Yeah, thank you, Saks. Love it. But so when you started the coaching business then, did you have any clients like right out of the gates, or did you have to okay, I got to go get clients? Where were you with that scenario?
So both. And I'm fortunate to, I think I think everything is about relationships. So I'm fortunate to have held on to some amazing relationships, people that I've worked with in the past, organizations that I've worked with in the past. And so that's really where I started. I started hitting up those folks and using my connections. And from there, started to receive referrals and that kind of thing. But it's difficult, as a solopreneur and, now kind of growing to the space where I need some help as well. It's always a challenge. I don't have a product to sell. I have a service to sell. So if I was making lipsticks, I could just produce, but I don't. I work with people and it's me and it's others. So you're constantly hunting.
Yeah. No, and that's a great point. The difference between a product and a service, huge difference when you're marketing, selling your business. Very interesting. Well, then when when you get your clients, is it a long-term engagement? Is it, what does that look like when somebody's coming on board with you? What are you like drilling down on?
So that's another outstanding question, Paul. So it really depends. My shortest engagement, whenever I'm working one-on-one with a leader, is 6 months because behavioral change takes a long time, and self-awareness takes quite a bit of time, sometimes longer than others for some. I'm still in the process as well.
Yeah, does it ever end?
Never done. So that's a minimum that I will work one-on-one with the client. And then it often expands because we get rolling and we start to see some real behavioral change, and it's successful. And so we'll continue the engagement, or, they'll say, hey, I want you to work with someone else in my organization, or, something like that. So it'll snowball a little bit, but never anything less than 6 months in a one-on-one engagement.
Okay. And when you mention terms like self-awareness, you're changing that, changing behavior, like what exactly are you helping people to become self-aware about? I mean, is there a common thread that you see, or what behaviors need changing that come up when you're working with people?
So oftentimes it has to do with our communication, our verbal communication, our digital communication, how we are presenting with our strengths. That, when I work with highly successful people, presidents, VPs, CEOs, what has gotten them to where they are is capitalizing on their strengths. But sometimes we overcapitalize on our strengths, and then they become a derailer that we don't see as a blind spot. And so sometimes we overcompensate, and it does the opposite of what we want done.
Overcompensate on a strength, meaning if your strength, like what would be a strength? An example of a strength, and then how would you overcompensate on it?
A highly directional person. So you are a highly motivated, high D, very passionate, but your passion can sometimes become micromanagement. Your passion, so you can see where it can take you out of your leadership role. This is just one little example, but take you out of the leadership role of developing others and, allowing people to really flourish themselves because you are still in the mix. And so really understanding what your role is, where you want to be, the leader you want to be, the type of person you want to be, how you want to be spoken about in a room that you're not in. Those are all really critical conversations that when you get so high up, you stop having sometimes.
Right, because you're alone at the top probably a lot, and no one wants to give you that input.
No.
Yeah.
It's not safe. It's not safe for internal people to sometimes give you that. And so it's a lot safer for an external person to come and talk to you about it. And the client feels much safer too, because it's, and now, we're doing everything virtually. I've always done things virtually because my clients are all over, but it's so safe in this space. Like, I'm not even in your space with you. I'm here in this little Zoom room. And so it's like anything you say is just out into the ether, and then it goes away, but it still sits with you.
I think it's awesome. Yeah. I mean, I think it's awesome. The way you create that feeling. But so when you see somebody that's overcompensating, has that personality, I got to imagine they're not just readily saying, this is a weakness of mine, I need help doing this. I mean, you have to at some level point it out, but isn't it part of your expertise is working with them so that they see it too along the way? You can't just tell somebody you suck in this area, right?
No, you can't. You can't really tell anybody anything. And I have a whole theory about advice, which I think is awful because we give the worst advice ever. But for another day, Paul. But you're right. They have to see it themselves. And so what is helpful sometimes really is starting this process with some assessment. So we will do some assessment work. We will, go through a 360 process or something like that, where we can work with real tangible feedback. And then we use that and say, well, how is this showing up for you? Give me an example where this may have been true for you. Okay. And then we'll kind of talk about that and see if we can get some bulbs going off.
Yeah. Because I always think it's more powerful when you're starting to work with somebody new, is that collectively you come to the problem and the solution, which is an art that you obviously have mastered.
Mastering, hopefully.
Mastering.
It goes along with that self-awareness, right? Always in the process of practice, like a physician, it's a practice.
Well, yeah, and you're kind of like a counselor too, right? I mean, you get into, I'm sure, a lot of personality.
We do, because most of most of how we behave, and I am not a licensed mental health professional by any means, but most of how we behave as adults, we had crafted when we were younger. So, how we look at things, our response to things are usually reactions from how we've responded in the past. So we got to look at that sometimes,
Yeah. What are some of your biggest challenges that you face when you're working with people? What do you confront that's like, oh God, you got to get around?
Well, initially it is the desire to appear super competent. So some of my clients really want to appear like they are super, super competent. They really, they don't need this. They're very successful, and they are very successful. And those are like, price of admission. Like I say, like you wouldn't be working with me if you weren't successful. So no one's debating that you're successful, you're smart, you're capable, you're intelligent, you're successful, all of those wonderful things. However, we can always be better. And here's how you can be great. if we work on just a few things, you're amazing. Great. So it's so that's one of the challenges initially, like the desire to not look less than awesome, because they're presidents. They've done it. They got there.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. And then do you get into, I think the personal stuff must come up, because even though you're talking about business stuff, is there a big crossover into personal and you start diving into that? Like, is it do they go in their childhood and stuff?
No. So we, as coaches, again, that's really goes down to therapy, mental health. As executive coaches, professional coaches, we have like a little colloquial phrase. We say we're into the mystery. We're not into the history. So you got to process the history with someone else who is, licensed and qualified. However, to your point, our behaviors bleed over from the office to the home environment. So how you treat people, who report to you in your workspace, oftentimes we bring those behaviors into our home space. So, and they show up that way as well. So we do end up talking about, oh, my kid, oh, my spouse, oh, my partner, because we're human. And how we behave.
For sure. And do you work with certain industries, or are you just all over the map, when it comes to industries? And who's your ideal client?
Yeah. So a couple questions in there. I'll take one at a time. Yeah. So the industries I'm currently working in are a little bit all over the map. I have clients that are in like property management and senior living and assisted living facilities. So that kind of goes down that home care, but also real estate property management. I work with construction organizations. I work with engineering firms. I work with retail organizations from my past history. I work with hospitality industry. So I have real product placement organizations. I have very unique spectrum of clients, which is really fascinating. But I would say, and now media, I've just gotten into a media client. So it's really all over the board. And I think what makes me possibly unique is that I don't worry about the industry, because a leader could leave here, wherever they happen to be, and go run another organization because they're a great leader, or go sit on a board somewhere because they're a great leader. So I've never really focused on industry, but there are coaches that absolutely do. I just haven't had to, I suppose. So it hasn't been something I've done.
Yeah. And then the ideal client part of that is,
I think the ideal client, it's a great question, because I'm deciding who that is right now as I go through the folks I work with. And I have had to part with some clients, and that's a hard decision, because if I feel like you're not here for me to help serve you, then we can't work together. So for me, I do this because I love it, and I want to work with clients who want to work on themselves. So that's really my ideal client. It's a successful leader who is interested in seeing how they can become better. And if they're not, then it's a challenge for us to work together. And we'll try for a while, but then I have had to say, I don't think it's going very far.
Yeah, it's not going. Well, the coaching business, coaching, executive consulting has exploded over
really
the years,
has.
right? I mean, yeah, it's
Mhm.
unbelievable. You just do Google search or LinkedIn searches, and you get like millions of people that fall in that category. So there's a lot of competition out there, and the people that you're trying to get in front of, the leaders, there's a lot of other people trying to get in front of them and work with them. So how do you think you differentiate yourself? Like, what is your, your scenario that makes you stand out?
Well, I think for me, it is about working with people I really like. So I'm pretty genuine. You can look on my website. You can see who I am right from the start. I am who I am. I don't pretend. Like you said on LinkedIn, people are up there and they've got videos and they've got all this stuff, and that's probably a deficiency of mine. I don't have that. I don't know. I don't do that. I am who I am. If you want to chat with me, we can chat. But I really feel like I bring an authenticity to this industry that I would kind of agree with you has gotten a little blown up. And I don't know that it feels as ethical and transparent and authentic as it had in the past. Mm-hmm. So I really feel like that's where I come from. And I also really, I hope I present like I come from a place of just service. Absolutely. Because I just want people to be the greatest leaders and people they can be. And I feel like our potential is so expansive. We haven't even touched it. Yeah. So that's why I do this every day.
Yeah. Yeah, no, well, you and I have had a chance to talk before. Your passion is front and center. It's awesome. And you're right. People want to do business with other people they like and trust. So phenomenal. Where are you going from here? Like you said, 3-5 years down the road, I know you said you're having some growth pains, which is good and bad, right? Mm-hmm. What does it look like 5 years from now? Do you kind of have a vision or are you figuring it out?
I do have a vision, and it's a little bit scary because I think I would like to expand, but I have one of those blind spots as well that I talk with my leaders about. And so I am a highly motivated person.
The teacher becomes the pupil. Oh, no.
That's exactly right. That is exactly right. So I have to work on myself to understand that if I do grow, and when and how I do grow, I will have to release some of the control that I do have over my business. So that's where I am right now. When I bring on other coaches, I won't be coaching in that session. So I have to work on my comfort level with scale.
Oh yeah. So is that what scale is for you? Then it's when you say grow, it's getting more one-on-one coaching clients and then having somebody underneath you.
Yes. Okay. And so really getting a team, I think, of coaches to take our service further beyond just me, and the other piece that I really love doing is really getting out there and speaking and presenting and talking about, concepts of leadership and intentionality. And so I want to be able to reach more people in less time. And so I'm doing a little more speaking, and obviously now we're doing more traveling, and there's conferences that are in person. And so all of that is ramping up. So as I go and do more and more of that, less time to one-on-one, and I do it from hotel rooms, and that's totally cool, but less time for that. So it'll look a little more like that transition, more people with me as we go and expand our message.
Oh, that's exciting. So I know you have a process that you employ, and so that as you grow, bring in people underneath you, they have a process they can dial into, right? So
that's right. And it'll make me feel better with my over micromanaging issue as well. And when people have a system to follow and you let them do it, they're very successful at it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think there's a few parables about that along the
Yes,
way. Teaching
there
people.
are
Yeah,
the
yeah.
fish and all that.
Yeah, I
Yes,
was
the
thinking
bread and the
fish,
fish and
bread, yeah, something like that. Well, I was also thinking about, so funny when you said you're a high school teacher, I knew that, but I've got three teenagers, high schoolers at home, and one in college, and I'm like, my God, this woman must be a dynamo because I'm thinking, was that harder or dealing with the adults? Probably the kids.
Yeah, yeah. I tell you what, it's interesting. Well, I have an 8-year-old myself who is a client of mine, quite honestly. He has a folder and everything right on my desk
Oh yeah,
because the
oh yeah.
conversations are strikingly similar
Oh yeah.
at times.
Oh yeah, and their negotiating skills, even at the age of 8, blow away any CEO I've ever met.
You better believe it. I have been scammed into so many different things. I
Oh my
turn
God.
around and I'm like, how did that happen?
Oh yeah.
No wonder why that negotiation didn't turn out the way I wanted
I gotta
to.
get rid of this kid. Get him out of here. Oh
I know.
yeah. Oh yeah. I'm thinking of matching you up with my own kids. Hey, you're gonna do some sessions with Stacy. You don't
Right.
know her. You're gonna love her. Get on a Zoom. Go talk to my kids. Oh man. Well, this
That's
is great.
funny.
Yeah.
Maybe that's a niche. Maybe look, listen, maybe that's a niche.
I think it could be. Well, listen. I mean, I could talk to you forever. You've got so much great stuff going on, and love to have you back and track your progress and see how it's going. But I want to thank you for coming on board. Thank everybody that's listening for being here, and you could be listening on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn. I think you were even on Twitter, and you've got to connect with Stacy. Get inside of her ecosystem, and whether it's up here or down here around this video, you'll see her contact information, a way to connect with her. Stacy, great. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much, Paul. I appreciate your time and I had a great time.
Yeah, you're welcome. We'll see you again.
All right. Thank you.
Okay.